Hello and welcome to my channel. If you enjoy ghost stories, either whispered or softly spoken, then you've come to the right channel. Today I'm going to read several ghost stories that were posted on Reddit. I will link the contributor down in the description box, but we're going to go ahead and get started. The first story was contributed by geminiloveca. I know it sounds like something straight out of a movie, but it's 100% what happened to me about 24 years ago. When I was still relatively newly married, my then husband and I moved into a townhouse-style apartment. The first 2 floors of our apartment were on the 2nd and 3rd floors of the building, and the management office and the mailbox area was almost directly below us on the ground level. That's important for later. The woman who managed the building was older, didn't care for the property well, and usually spent most days chain-smoking Camel non-filters in her office, and being a hateful old racist. Imagine renting a place from Juno, the social worker from Beetlejuice, but less helpful. She really resented that we had the townhouse, claiming we lied about my being pregnant when we moved in, because she didn't want to rent that unit to people with kids. She also made a few disparaging remarks about my husband due to his race. She was a real peach, truly. So after kiddo was born, I was a single stay-at-home mom, just busy keeping the house clean and the baby occupied, without a car or local mom friends. After lunch, the kiddo needed a bath. Anyone who's fed a 9-month-old baby food knows the mess that can happen. So I went upstairs and ran the tub. Soon I had the baby sitting happily, splashing in one of those suction cup bath seats. Important to note, it's the middle of winter and we had no heat. An issue I'd been fighting Juno, the landlord, about for a while. Among other maintenance issues like my arcing ceiling fan or the garbage disposal that was held on with duct tape and leaked. We basically had to keep a space heater or 2 in every room to keep the chill off. I had taken one of those space heaters in the bathroom to keep the bathroom warm enough for bath time, and had it sitting out of reach and splashing distance on top of the bathroom counter. I was standing in the bathtub getting ready to lift the baby out when all of a sudden the space heater started to rock back and forth when it had not been rocking before. I had this horrible feeling of dread as I looked at the heater, and I just reacted because I knew I couldn't get both of us out of the tub in time. I reached down to grab the baby seat, ending up pulling it up off the tub and dropping the baby over the side of the tub to the bathroom floor just as the heater got to the end of the cord. It thumped into the shower door, bounced off the edge of the tub, and landed on its side on the floor a couple inches away, where it shut off. Had auto shut off in case it got tipped over. When I looked over to the corner of the bathroom, that part of the room seemed to just get darker, like it was filling up with shadows. There was no smoke, no change in lighting, no windows, so no sun going, behind a cloud, etc. It was just darker. I also started to smell cigarette smoke. Camel non-filters, which I knew the smell of, from being in Juno's office all the time to getting things fixed. The smell was so thick, it made me cough and my chest ached, but I couldn't see any smoke haze, and I felt this overwhelming sensation of hatred and malice, like someone was standing there giving me a death glare. I grabbed the baby and a towel and ran downstairs. I was so freaked out. I couldn't bring myself to go back up there, so I used some diapers from the diaper bag and kept the baby wrapped in the towel and cuddled up to stay warm. I stayed down there the entire rest of the day until my husband got home. Every so often I'd look up the stairs at the bathroom, but I didn't want to take the baby up there. I was afraid to leave him alone downstairs. When he asked me why the baby wasn't dressed, I told him about the heater and the smoke in the bathroom. He went up to check, figuring it was yet another maintenance issue. There was no electrical issues, no damage to the outlet, no smoke, no cigarette smell. He put the heater back on the counter and turned it on, watched it for a few minutes, and it didn't rock. So it didn't rock itself off the counter either earlier. He laughed it off, but later that day, we heard Juno's adult son downstairs near the mailboxes yelling his head off at people. And that's when we found out she'd had a massive heart attack in her office earlier that day. And he found her dead in her chair with a Camel, non-filtered, still in her hand. This next story was uploaded by Mahora420. Something invited itself into my friend's home. I've told this story on another subreddit, but this is the one haunting experience that really freaked me out. When I was younger, I had a next-door neighbor named Lexi. She was my best friend. Our parents would go on trips on motorcycles with each other. We would camp out at one of our houses until they'd come back. It was normal for us. We never had any paranormal events prior to this specific night. We were sitting in bedroom talking and doing what we normally did. We saw a bright light through her window, followed with the sound of motorcycles pulling into the gravel driveway. We instantly think, okay, our parents forgot something. But before we could even get up to leave the bedroom, we heard knocks and a soft woman's voice saying, "Hello." The front door opened. This was a familiar sound because the door scraped against the hardwood flooring. We panicked, thinking there was an intruder. At this point, because this woman didn't sound like our family, we have very Texan voices. We scouted the house, scared out of our minds, just to find the front door wide open and nobody in the driveway. Nobody was in the house. We finally felt better. We walked back into her bedroom, but before she went to enter, she collapsed on the floor and started sobbing. I didn't know what was happening. I was scared, and she told me something as tall as the doorframe was standing in her parents' room. After our parents returned, her family continued to have paranormal activity in their house. They moved out too. Yeah, I do the same. This next story is uploaded by companypizza. I manage a venue that used to be a Roman Catholic church and was then abandoned and used as a flop house for many years. I am frequently in the building alone late at night by myself, closing up after shows and club nights. Several strange things have happened to me there. Number 1, I was really busy setting up for an event, and I was walking along the mezzanine area toward a room that everyone had told me was haunted. And while I love ghost stories, I don't really believe in the supernatural on a fundamental level. The last thing on my mind at this time was spooky stuff. I was en route from one area to another on a mission to do some logistical task or another. I paused at the railing and suddenly I felt the sensation of being grabbed hard around the ankle, as though from below, which made no sense, as it was a 25-foot drop down to the main floor. I leapt backwards and started shaking my leg and looking everywhere, but saw nothing. Number 2, I was taking a meeting in broad daylight with a collaborator. We were sitting on a plush couch in the middle of the space, enjoying our conversation about a potential series of events we could do. Because it was a business meeting, I left one cushion of space between him and myself on the couch. Suddenly, mid-sentence, I felt the distinct sensation of someone walking up to us and then sitting directly between us. We both paused and just stared at the cushion, which was moving. There was an impression as though someone had sat down. There was a palpable energy and tension in the air. It felt for all the world as though an invisible person was sitting right there. We sat frozen in silence for about 30 seconds, which is actually a long time, in the middle of a business meeting, staring at the cushion, until I finally waved my arms through the space in exasperation and laughed. We were both confused and shaken and ended up the meeting quickly. Number 3, I had to supervise a group who was rehearsing in the space. I was hungover and got in the morning, led in the group, and went upstairs into a secluded area to take a nap on the couch and wait out my shift. Mid-nap, I woke up suddenly and heard someone slowly descending the stairs from the bell tower. I froze. I kept my eyes closed, thinking it was someone from the rehearsing group, and I just wanted them to go away. The footsteps drew closer, and I heard what sounded like a man muttering to himself under his breath as he leaned over me, grasped my hip hard. He squeezed it until it hurt. I let out a yell and opened my eyes, but there was nobody there. Perhaps just sleep paralysis, but very odd. I've never had a sleep paralysis incident before. Number 4. Multiple instances of seeing figures in the mirror, hearing doors slam, etc. People calling my name from a distant corners when I'm there by myself. The custodian once told me she refuses to clean at night anymore since she heard someone quietly praying in the confessional at 3 in the morning. Now, everyone likes to claim it's the ghost of all these Irish Catholic priests and their parishioners, but in my opinion, the many years the church sat empty and desolate as a last resort shelter for drug addicts, prostitutes, is the more likely window of time where people would have died desperate, lost, and in pain. Thank you for listening. I hope you do enjoy ghost stories. If you have a ghost story of your own, put it in the description box below and I'll make sure that I read it on one of my future readouts. And thank you again. I hope you have a great day and just don't forget, stay a little scared.